BSc Nursing, Semester 1, Applied Sociology, Unit 2, Social Structure. What is social structure? Distinctive, stable arrangement of institutions like family, economy, and government. Patterned and social relationship, the regular and repetitive ways people interact. Enduring arrangements of status and role that shape human behavior in a society. In simple terms, it's the organized system that persists over time, providing stability and predictability to social life. Next, society. Society, community, association, institutions. So, what is society? The primary goal of the society definition, society is the broadest and most abstract concept. It's a web of social relationship. MacLever, it's a system of continuous interaction and relationships that share a common culture, set of norms and institutions. The key idea is it's not the people themselves, but the relationship between them. It is defined by interdependence, not geography. The characteristics of society, it's abstract. You cannot physically point to society. You can see the relationship, norms and culture it creates. Likeness and differences. Society is heterogeneous, containing people with many differences, language, income, religion, who are united by a common system. Permanence. It is permanent and self-sustaining, continuing across generations. So the characteristics of a society is abstract, likeness and differences, permanence. Types of society. It's a tribal society, agrarian society, industrial and post-industrial society. Advantages or disadvantages. Advantage. Provide structure, security, identity and a means for survival and cooperation. Disadvantage. Can lead to conflict, inequality, stratification and pressure for conformity. Community. Community is a group of people who live in a definite geographical area and share a common way of life and a strong sense of we feeling, community sentiment. Characteristics. Definite locality, always tied to a specific area, village, town, neighborhood. We feeling. A sense of belongingness, mutual independence, mutual interdependence and share emotional identity. Less abstract, more concrete. You can physically point to a community, example, this neighborhood. So the difference, what is the difference between society and community? Narrow. Comparison. Society, community. Society. Group live together and interact with one another. Community live together in same place or have particular characteristics in common. In society live together and interact with one another. Society members are diverse. Community members share common characteristics. In society, interactions are the core element. Here, in community, interactions happen involuntarily. Society is heterogeneous, community is homogeneous. In society, objective and interest more extensive and varied. In community, less extensive and varied. Society, feelings of belongingness may or may not be present. In community, feelings or belongingness is essential element. In society is abstract in nature, community is concrete in nature. One or two points, the difference between society. Example for society. Indian society includes people from different states, language and religion who follow common laws and political system. ഇന്ത്യൻ സമൂഹം പല മതങ്ങളുടെയും സംസ്കാരങ്ങളും ഉൾക്കൊള്ളുന്ന വലിയൊരു ഘടനയാണ്. Community. Community is a small group of people living in a specific area who share common interests, traditions, and sense of belongingness. For example, village community. ഒരു ഗ്രാമത്തിലെ ആളുകൾ പരസ്പരം പരിചയമുള്ളതും സഹകരിക്കുന്നതുമാണ്. നമ്മുടെ ഗ്രാമത്തിലെ സമൂഹം ഉത്സവങ്ങളും പൊതുപ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളും നടത്തുന്നു. സൊസൈറ്റി വളരെ വലിയൊരു സമൂഹമാണ്. കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ചെറിയൊരു കൂട്ടായ്മയാണ്. സൊസൈറ്റിക്കൊരു സ്ഥലം ആവശ്യമില്ല. കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റിക്ക് സാധാരണയായൊരു പ്രദേശത്താണ് ഉള്ളത്. സൊസൈറ്റിയിൽ നിയമം, സംസ്കാരം, സ്ഥാപനങ്ങൾ എന്നിവ തമ്മിലുള്ള ബന്ധം നിലനിൽക്കുന്നു. കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റിയിൽ വ്യക്തിപരമായ ബന്ധം, സഹകരണം. അപ്പോൾ സൊസൈറ്റിക്ക് ഉദാഹരണം ഇന്ത്യൻ സമൂഹം, ആഗോള സമൂഹം. കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റിക്ക് ഉദാഹരണം സ്കൂൾ സമൂഹം, ഗ്രാമ സമൂഹം. The next difference, society, it is shapeless and has no area consideration. Community locally is essential and it has a definite shape. Society has much wider scope. Community is narrow in scope. In society, likeness and conflict can exist side by side. In community, every effort is made to avoid conflict and bring likeness. Association. An association is an organized group of people deliberately formed to pursue a specific common goal or interest. Characteristics of association: deliberate formation, political party, a book club, trade union. So it has deliberate formation, not natural, it is created. It has specific aim, exists to achieve a clear objective. Voluntary membership. Membership is usually optional. People join associations. It has formal rules, governed by written rules, by law or a constitution. So what is the difference between community and association? Community, natural growth, encompasses all interest, general aim, compulsory membership, born into it, regulated by customs. Association, deliberately created, focuses on specific interest, particular aim, voluntary membership, chosen to join, regulated by formal rules. Institutions, the established procedures or rules. A social institution is an established pattern of behavior or procedure that is centered on the basic human needs of society. It is a set of norms, rules, and organized practices that govern certain key aspects of social life. Key distinction: association is equal to group of people. Example, the students, teachers, and administration of a university. Institution, a system of rules or procedures. Example, a system of education, the way of knowledge is transmitted, degrees are awarded. The characteristics: fulfill basic needs. They solve fundamental problems. Example, families solve the need for reproduction and socialization. Stable and enduring, they last across generations. Abstract, like society, it's a system of rules, not a group of people. Types of institutions: family, reproduction, socialization. Economy, production and distribution of goods and services. Government or policy, maintenance of order. Decision making, power distribution. Education, transmission of knowledge, skills, and values. Religion provides ultimate meaning and moral guidance. So the big 5 types of institutions: family, number 2 economy, number 3 government, 4 education, 5 religion. Functions of institutions: simply social life, provide stability, control behavior, and maintain social order. Difference between institution and association. Association, a group of people, membership, concrete and visible. Institution, a set of rules, procedures, mode of service, behavior, abstract. The teaching strategy: use concrete examples. Society, the entire population and culture of a country. Example, Indian society, American society. Community, university, campus, hometown or resident of a specific city block. Association, the student government, the university faculty, union, the debate club. Institutions, the marriage system, the education system, rules for learning and grading. So society is the basic concept of society. Interaction of individuals with each other gives birth to groups. These groups interact with one another and develop mutual relationship that make society. Within a society, there are patterns and grouping based on likeness and differences. Human beings is dependent on society for their basic need satisfaction. The society may be viewed as a large number of human beings who interact to satisfy their social needs, who share a common culture. Term society refers to the entire humanity, including those who are unfriendly and uncivic to the remainder of society. The definition of a society. A society is a network of interconnected major groups viewed as a unit and sharing a common culture. J.H. Fichte. Next, Jan Robertson. A society is a group of interacting individuals sharing the same territory and participating in a culture. The nature of a society, it's abstract. Social relationships are invisible and abstract. Consist of people. Society is composed of people. Without people, there can be no society. Society is organization of relationship. Society is total complex of human relationship. Existence of both similarities and differences. Society involves likeness and differences. Division of labor. It involves the assignment to each unit or group specific share of common task. Next, nature of society. System of stratification. Society is a system of stratification of statuses and classes that each individual has relatively stable and reorganized position in the social structure. Social control. Society has its own controlling behavior of its members, mutual interaction and mutual awareness. Society is a group of people in continuous interaction with each other. Next, types of societies. Types of societies. Number 1. Foraging society. ഏറ്റവും പഴക്കമേറിയതും ലളിതവുമായ സാമൂഹിക ഘടനയാണ്. ഈ സമൂഹങ്ങളിലെ ആളുകൾ ഭക്ഷണം ശേഖരിച്ചും വേട്ടയാടിയും പഴങ്ങൾ പറിച്ചെടുത്തുമാണ് ജീവിച്ചിരുന്നത്. കൃഷിയോ മൃഗങ്ങളെ വളർത്തലോ ഇവർക്കില്ല. ഇവർ നാടോടികളായിരിക്കും. പ്രധാന സവിശേഷത എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ചെറിയ ജനസംഖ്യ, തുല്യത, ലളിതമായ സാമൂഹിക ശ്രേണി. ഉദാഹരണം ആഫ്രിക്കയിലെ ബുഷ്മൻ, ഇന്ത്യയിലെ ആൻഡമാൻ ദ്വീപുകളിലെ ജരാവ, സെന്റിനൻസ് തുടങ്ങിയ ഗോത്രവർഗ്ഗക്കാർ. നെക്സ്റ്റ്, പാസ്റ്ററൽ സൊസൈറ്റികൾ. പ്രധാനമായും മൃഗങ്ങളെ വളർത്തി കന്നുകാലികൾ, ആടുകൾ, ഒട്ടകങ്ങൾ ഉപജീവനം നടത്തുന്ന സമൂഹമാണ്. മൃഗങ്ങളെ വളർത്താനുള്ള സ്ഥലങ്ങൾ തേടി ഇവർ അർദ്ധനാടോടികളായി സഞ്ചരിക്കും. പ്രധാന സവിശേഷത എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഭക്ഷ്യോൽപാദനം വർദ്ധിച്ചതിനാൽ ഫോറേജിംഗ് സമൂഹങ്ങളെക്കാൾ വലുതും സ്ഥിരതയുള്ളതും ആണ്. സ്വകാര്യ സ്വത്തിന് പ്രാധാന്യം നൽകി തുടങ്ങും. എക്സാമ്പിൾ, കിഴക്കൻ ആഫ്രിക്കയിലെ മസായി, മംഗോളിയയിലെ നാടോടി ഗോത്രങ്ങൾ. നെക്സ്റ്റ്, ഫോർട്ടിക്കൾച്ചറൽ സൊസൈറ്റികൾ. കൈക്കോട്ട് പോലുള്ള ലളിതമായ ഉപകരണങ്ങൾ ഉപയോഗിച്ച് ചെറുകിട തോട്ടങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടാക്കി കൃഷി ചെയ്യുന്ന സമൂഹമാണ്. സ്ഥിരമായി ഒരിടത്ത് താമസിക്കാൻ ഇത് ഇവരെ സഹായിച്ചു. കൃഷി ചെയ്യുന്നതിനാൽ ഒരിടത്ത് സ്ഥിരതാമസമാക്കി മൃഗങ്ങളെ വളർത്തുന്നതിനേക്കാൾ കൂടുതൽ ഭക്ഷണം ഉൽപ്പാദിപ്പിക്കാൻ കഴിയും. ഇത് കൂടുതൽ സങ്കീർണമായ സാമൂഹിക ഘടനയിലേക്ക് നയിച്ചു. എക്സാമ്പിൾ, മഴക്കാടുകൾക്ക് സമീപമുള്ള ചില ഗോത്രവർഗ്ഗക്കാർ പരമ്പരാഗതമായി സ്ലേഷ് ആൻഡ് ബേൺ കൃഷിരീതി ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നവർ. നെക്സ്റ്റ്, അഗ്രികൾച്ചറൽ സൊസൈറ്റികൾ. കലപ്പയും മറ്റു വലിയ കാർഷിക സാങ്കേതിക വിദ്യകളും ഉപയോഗിച്ച് കൃഷി ചെയ്യുന്ന സമൂഹമാണ്. ഇത് വലിയ തോതിലുള്ള ഭക്ഷ്യോൽപാദനത്തിന് കാരണമായി. ഗ്രാമങ്ങളും നഗരങ്ങളും രൂപപ്പെട്ടു. വലിയ ജനസംഖ്യ, കൃഷിയല്ലാത്ത മറ്റു ജോലികൾ ചെയ്യുന്നവരുടെ കരകൗശല വിദഗ്ധർ, വ്യാപാരികളുടെ വർധനവ്, വലിയ സാമൂഹിക അസമത്വം, ഫ്യൂഡൽ വ്യവസ്ഥ പോലുള്ളവ ഉടലെടുത്തു. ഉദാഹരണം, പുരാതന ഈജിപ്ത്, മെസൊപ്പൊട്ടോമിയ തുടങ്ങിയ നദീതട സംസ്കാരങ്ങൾ, പഴയ രാജകാല ഭരണത്തെ കേരളത്തിലെ കാർഷിക ഗ്രാമങ്ങൾ. ഇൻഡസ്ട്രിയൽ സൊസൈറ്റികൾ. മെഷീനുകളും യന്ത്രങ്ങളും പുറത്തുനിന്നുള്ള ഊർജ്ജ സ്രോതസ്സുകളും കൽക്കരി പെട്രോളിയം ഉപയോഗിച്ച് വലിയ തോതിൽ ഉൽപ്പാദനം നടത്തുന്ന സമൂഹമാണ്. വ്യാവസായിക വിപ്ലവത്തോടെയാണ് ഇത് ഉടലെടുത്തത്. പ്രധാന സവിശേഷത ബഹുജന ഉൽപ്പാദനം, ഫാക്ടറികളിൽ അധിഷ്ഠിതമായ തൊഴിൽ, നഗരവൽക്കരണം, കുടുംബ ബന്ധങ്ങളിലെ മാറ്റങ്ങൾ, ശാസ്ത്രത്തിനും വിദ്യാഭ്യാസത്തിനും പ്രാധാന്യം. ഉദാഹരണം 18-ാം നൂറ്റാണ്ടിന് ശേഷമുള്ള യൂറോപ്യൻ രാജ്യങ്ങൾ, ഇന്നത്തെ വികസ്വര രാജ്യങ്ങളിൽ പലതും. പോസ്റ്റ് ഇൻഡസ്ട്രിയൽ സൊസൈറ്റികൾ. വിവരങ്ങൾ, സേവനങ്ങൾ, സാങ്കേതികവിദ്യ എന്നിവ ഉൽപ്പാദനത്തെക്കാൾ കൂടുതൽ പ്രാധാന്യം നേടുന്ന സമൂഹമാണ്. ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ടെക്നോളജിയാണ് ഇതിൻ്റെ നട്ടെല്ല്. ഭൂരിഭാഗം ആളുകളും സേവന മേഖലയിൽ, സർവീസ് സെക്ടറിൽ ജോലി ചെയ്യുന്നു. വിദ്യാഭ്യാസം, കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർവൽക്കരണം, വിവരങ്ങളുടെയും അറിവിൻ്റെയും വിനിമയം എന്നിവയ്ക്ക് പരമമായ പ്രാധാന്യം നൽകുന്നു. യുണൈറ്റഡ് സ്റ്റേറ്റ്സ്, ജപ്പാൻ, പടിഞ്ഞാറൻ യൂറോപ്പിലെ മിക്ക രാജ്യങ്ങൾ, ഇന്ത്യയിലെ IT മേഖല എന്നിവ ഉദാഹരണമാണ്. Foraging societies. It is the earliest form of society. These societies were small compared to the others. These societies were nomadic, which means that they move constantly in order to find food and water. Members of the society were mutually dependent upon each other. Pastoral society provides people lived in a certain place and started to pasture animals for transportation and permanent food. These societies rely on products obtained through the domestication and breeding of animals. Still exist in Somalia, Ethiopia, and North American countries. Horticultural societies emerged between 10,000 and 12,000 years ago in Latin America, Asia, and parts of the Middle East. These societies rely on cultivation of fruits, vegetables, and plants in order to survive. Horticulture society are often forced to relocate when the resources of the land are depleted or when the water supplies decrease. Division of labor continued. Agricultural societies. These societies rely on the use of technology in order to cultivate crops in large areas, including wheat, rice, and corn. The technological advances led to an increase in food supplies, an increase in population, and development of trade centers. This period of technological changes is referred to as the Agricultural Revolution and began around 8,500 years ago. Life is centered around the village community system, and land ownership is uneven. Industrial society. With use of new inventions, humans started to use machines and advanced technologies to produce the distribute goods and services. Products such as paper and glass become available to the average person. Gas lights allowed increased visibility in the dark, and towns and cities developed. There was a rise in urban centers. Nationality became more important. Classes existed based on their economic differences. Post-industrial societies. Since the economy of information societies is driven by knowledge and not material good, power lies with those in charge of storing and distributing information. Members of a post-industrial society are likely to be employed as sellers or of services, software programmers. Social classes are divided by access to education. Since without technical skills, people in an information society lack the means for success. Advantages and disadvantages of society. Advantages: promotes teamwork. Curbs individual freedom to grow. പൊതുവായ ലക്ഷ്യങ്ങൾക്കായി ആളുകൾക്ക് ഒരുമിച്ച് പ്രവർത്തിക്കാനായിട്ട് കഴിയുന്നു. വ്യക്തിപരമായ വളർച്ചയെ ഇത് തടസ്സപ്പെടുത്തുന്നു. സമൂഹത്തിൻ്റെ നിയമങ്ങൾ വ്യക്തിയുടെ പൂർണ്ണ സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യത്തെയും താൽപ്പര്യങ്ങളെയും പരിമിതപ്പെടുത്തിയേക്കാം. ടീച്ചേഴ്സ് കോർപ്പറേഷൻ യൂസസ് coercive method for compliance of social norms. സൊസൈറ്റി പരസ്പരം സഹായിച്ചും സഹകരിച്ചും ജീവിക്കാൻ പഠിപ്പിക്കുന്നു. സാമൂഹിക നിയമങ്ങൾ തെറ്റിക്കുന്നവരെ ശിക്ഷിക്കാൻ സമ്മർദ്ദമോ നിർബന്ധിത രീതിയോ ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നു. ടീച്ചേഴ്സ് ടു ഷെയർ ആൻഡ് കെയർ. പങ്കിടാനും ശ്രദ്ധിക്കാനും പഠിക്കുന്നു. വിഭവങ്ങളും വികാരങ്ങളും പങ്കുവയ്ക്കുന്ന ഒരു സാമൂഹിക ബന്ധം സ്ഥാപിക്കുന്നു. കൊഹേഷൻ ക്യാൻ ബി ഡിറ്റർമിനൻ്റ് ടു ജനറൽ ഹെൽത്ത് ഓഫ് ആൻ ഇൻഡിവിജ്വൽ. നിർബന്ധിക്കൽ വ്യക്തിയുടെ പൊതുവായ ആരോഗ്യത്തിന് ഹാനികരമാണ്. നിരന്തരമായ സാമൂഹിക സമ്മർദ്ദവും നിർബന്ധിതാവസ്ഥയും വ്യക്തിയുടെ മാനസികാരോഗ്യത്തെ ദോഷകരമായി ബാധിച്ചേക്കാം. ബ്രിങ്ങിങ് ഇൻ സിനർജി. വ്യക്തിഗത കഴിവുകൾ ഒരുമിച്ച് ചേർന്ന് വലിയൊരു ശക്തിയായി മാറുന്നു. ഒന്നിച്ചുള്ള പ്രവർത്തനം. സെറ്റ്സ് നോംസ് ഓഫ് ബിഹേവിയർ. എന്ത് ചെയ്യണം എന്ത് ചെയ്യരുത് എന്ന് തീരുമാനിക്കുന്ന പൊതുവായ നിയമങ്ങളും പ്രതീക്ഷകളും നിശ്ചയിക്കുന്നു. പ്രൊവൈഡ്സ് ഫിസിക്കൽ ആൻഡ് സൈക്കോളജിക്കൽ പ്രൊട്ടക്ഷൻ. ഒരു സമൂഹം എന്ന നിലയിൽ അംഗങ്ങൾക്ക് സുരക്ഷിതത്വവും പിന്തുണയും നൽകുന്നു. കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി. Small or large social unit that has something in common such as norms, religion, values or identity. A community is fundamentally a group of people, a social unit who are connected by a shared characteristics. These characteristics can be social, cultural or professional. This shared element is what binds them together. They share a sense of place that is situated in a given geographical area or in virtual space through communication platform. This point highlights two main types of communities: geographical or territorial. People living in the same area, village, town or neighborhood share a physical space which creates a sense of place and facilitates interaction. Virtual or relational. With modern technology, a community can exist in a virtual space like an online forum, gaming group, or social media platform where the common bond is shared interest, not location. Definition. Belli and Newby. Community is a set of interrelationship among social institutions in a locality. This definition focuses on the structure of a local community. Social institutions refers to established pattern of behavior and organizations like family, education, government, religion and economy. Bell and Newby suggest that a community is defined by how these local institutions interact and interconnect within specific locality or geographical area. Community is a social group with common territorial base. Those in group share interest and have a sense of belongingness to the group. Robert Stubbs. Territorial base. A shared geographical area like a neighborhood. Social or psychological elements. The members must be shared interest and most importantly possess sense of belongingness or community sentiment. This emphasizes that a community is a more than just people in a place. It requires a feeling of mutual connection and identification. Characteristics. Characteristics of community. Group of people. The most basic requirement, a community cannot exist without interacting individuals. Definite locality. It refers to the physical or geographical boundary. Through in modern times, this can be understood as a defined social space, even if virtual. Feeling of belongingness. This is a core psychological aspect known as community sentiment. It's the feeling of unity, shared identity, and mutual concern among members. Acquired spontaneously. A community typically arises naturally from people living and interacting together rather than being formally created by a government or law. Permanent in nature. Acquired, grows spontaneously, permanent in nature. While specific members may change, the community itself is generally a stable, long lasting entity, sharing similar characteristics. Sharing similar characteristics. The commonality that binds them together, example, language, common characteristics, the commonality that bind them together, example, language, religion, culture, norms, or history. Variety of ends. A community satisfies a wide range of needs and goals for its members, example, social, economic, cultural, and political, not just a single narrow purpose. Organized social life. The group has established rules, commons, and ways of interacting, norms that give structure to the members' lives. Concrete nature. A community is a recognizable, observable entity, either physically or socially, that can be clearly identified and distinguished from other groups. Comparison, society and community. Association. It's a group of persons collected together with some particular aim. Unlikely a community which develops spontaneously and fulfill all of life's needs, and association in purposefully formed to achieve a specific single goal. It's a group of persons collected together with some particular aim. It's a concrete form of organization. It is a concrete form of organization of human beings, contrary to society. It is not just an abstract concept, it is tangible, formally structured group like a political party, a club, or union. Definition. It's an organization that is deliberately formed for the collective pursuit of some interest which the members of which share. This emphasizes the two key features. It is deliberate, planned, and interest based. Members join to achieve a specific shared goals. Association. Association can be formed on basis of duration, power, and function. Associations vary widely based on how long they are intended to last, how they exercise authority, and what they are designed to do. Characteristics of association. Concrete form of organization. It is a clear structure, rules, and non-members. It's a visible entity, not just a vague feelings or relationship web. Lack of spontaneous growth. Lack of spontaneous growth. It is planned and created deliberately, not developed naturally over time like a family or neighborhood. Specific aim and objective. Its entire existence is tied to one defined purpose. Example, promoting a sport, achieving political power, or raising fund for a charity. Following specific rules and regulations. To achieve its specific aim effectively, an association operates according to a formal written constitution, bylaws, or rules. Membership of voluntary. Individuals are free to join or leave the association. No one is born into it, unlike a community. Differences. Community. Growth arises spontaneously or naturally. It is not planned, it grows out of shared life and location. It has no natural growth, it is deliberately created and planned by people. Scope and nature related to community and association. Regarded as integral or whole, it covers all aspects of life. It is an organization of social life, it is part of whole social community. Needs a social area. Needs a social area, location, physical or virtual, is necessary. There can be number of association within a community. It is a subgroup within a large community. Community membership is compulsory. You are generally born into or belong to a community based on where you live. Membership of an association is voluntary. People choose to join or leave. Community sentiment is necessary to constitute a community. The feeling of we-ness or belonging is essential. The sentiment is not a basic factor to form association. The key factor is the shared purpose or aim, not emotion. A system of social relationships which are intangible and invisible. It is an abstract concept, definitely and artificially created, formed to work to fulfill the specific aims and objectives. It is a concrete, visible organization. It is a chain. It's a chain of natural evolution. It grows organically and continuously. Formed at a later stage when persons learn to organize himself. It is a later stage development of social life, formed by people to fulfill the specific aims and objectives. Person cannot live without society. Person cannot live without society. Society is essential for human life. Person may live without being a member of any particular association. Associations are optional. Aim of society. Membership of society is compulsory. Membership is voluntary. Aim of society is general, covering all human desires and needs. Aim of association is particular, focuses on one or a few specific goals. Characterized by both cooperation and conflict. Both can coexist because society is diverse. Membership is voluntary. Association is more particular. Association is based on cooperation. Institution. It is a system of organization, standardized pattern of social behavior. Social institutions are the established, organized way of society meet its basic needs. They provide the rules, role and predictable process for people to interact on important issues. Definition: an institution is a set of formal, regular, and established procedures. Characteristic of a group or number of groups that perform a similar function within a society. This emphasizes that an institution is not a building or a person, but rather a structured way of doing things. Examples include the family, the education system, the government, and the economic system. They are the fixed systems that govern human interaction and structure society. Characteristics of institution. Universality. Institutions are found in all societies, though their specific forms may vary. Every society has a way to organize family, governance, and economy. Abstractness. Institutions are systems and procedures like marriage or democracy which make them non-physical and difficult to observe directly. Satisfaction of needs, specific needs. Each institution is designed to fulfill a core societal need. Example: family for reproduction, socialization; economy for resource distribution. It's social in nature. They arise from and are supported by the collective will and behavior of the group. Prescription of rules. They involve established rules, norms, and roles that dictate appropriate behavior. Example: rules governing how to get a job or how to behave in a court. Symbol of culture. Institutions often have physical and non-physical symbols that represent their purpose and values. Example: a flag for government, a ring for marriage. Maintain social order. By providing predictable role and rules, institutions help to prevent chaos and keep society functioning smoothly. Relatively permanent. They are stable and durable structures that persist over generation, resisting rapid change. Institutions are interrelated. They do not exist in isolation. The family are connected to the economy, which is connected to the government, etc. Well-defined objectives. Each institution has a clear mission and goal it aims to achieve for society. Institutions has well-defined traditions. They are built upon history, customs, and long-standing practices. Institutions are transmitters of social heritage. They are the primary means by which a society's culture, values, and knowledge are passed down from one generation to the next. Social institutions. Types. Basis of classification based on general use. Type of institution: basic institutions. Example: family, religious institutions. Based on state approval. Subsidiary institutions: clubs or recreations. Based on state approval. Sanctioned schools. Unsanctioned. External or outside social norms. Extramarital relations. Based on recognition. General, restricted. General, religion and human rights. Restricted, institutions restricted to a particular community. Institutions restricted to a particular community. Based on functions. operative, regulative. Operative, agriculture, trade institutions. Regulative, policy, institutions that maintain order. Institutions that maintain order. Classification of institutions. Cultural institutions. Cultural institutions transmit social heritage. Cultural institutions transmit social heritage. Example, family, school. Economic institutions organize the services of utility. Example, industry, banking. Organize the services of utility. These are those institutions that organize service of utility like bank, labor union, commercial and industrial enterprises. Recreational institutions satisfy human desires for leisure and recreation. Example, sports club. Desire for entertainment, amusement, play, etc. Social control institutions help in solving social problems and maintaining law and state. Example, police, court. Help in solving social problems and maintain law and state. Functions of institutions serve as a base for human development. Facilitate socialization, learning norms and roles. Help achieve a social purpose, maintenance of social order. Help achieve social purpose, maintenance of social order. Facilitate transmission of culture. Contribute to personality development. Provide role and status for the individual within society. Provide role and status for the individual within society. Differences. Institution and association differences. Based on nature. Denotes social condition and behavior constituted by law, rules and procedures. Represents a social condition, behavior constituted by laws, rules and regulation. Association denotes human aspects comprised of human beings. Represent human aspects comprised of human beings. Abstract in nature. A system of rules and concepts. Abstract in nature. Concrete and have a family. It is a physical group. It is a physical group. Grows naturally and is primarily evolved, relatively permanent. Institution grow naturally and is primarily evolved, relatively permanent. Formed for a specific necessity, not as permanent as institution. Denote modes or ways of service. Denotes membership. Association denotes membership. Differences. Institutions, association. Institution does not possess a particular name. It does not possess a particular name. Possess a distinctive name. Association possesses a distinctive name. It fulfills primarily a basic needs of people. Example, reproduction, sustenance, etc. In association, a group of people organized for the pursuit of some specific purpose. Its rules, institution. Rules are based on informal means of social control. Example, customs, folkways. Laws are formed based on formal means of social control. Example, written rules and laws. Institution. Example, education, religion. Association. Example, college, church, etc. The church building or organization is the association, while religion is the institution. ഇൻഡിവിജ്വൽ ആൻഡ് സൊസൈറ്റി ഒരു വ്യക്തിയും അയാൾ ജീവിക്കുന്ന സമൂഹവും തമ്മിലുള്ള ബന്ധത്തെക്കുറിച്ചും സമൂഹം എങ്ങനെ രൂപപ്പെട്ടു എന്നും വിശദീകരിക്കുന്ന സിദ്ധാന്തങ്ങൾ ഉൾപ്പെടുന്ന ഭാഗം ആണ് ഇത്. സോഷ്യൽ കോൺട്രാക്ട് തിയറി, സാമൂഹ്യ ഉടമ്പടി സിദ്ധാന്തം, മനുഷ്യർക്ക് തുടക്കത്തിൽ ഒരു ഭരണ സംവിധാനവും നിയമങ്ങളും ഇല്ലാത്ത പ്രകൃതിദത്തമായ അവസ്ഥ, സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ഓഫ് നേച്ചർ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. എന്നാൽ പിന്നീട് ക്രമസമാധാനത്തിനും സുരക്ഷിതത്വത്തിനുമായി എല്ലാവരും സ്വയം ചില അവകാശങ്ങൾ ഉപേക്ഷിച്ച് ഒരു ഭരണകൂടത്തിന്, സ്റ്റേറ്റിന് രൂപം കൊടുക്കാൻ ഉള്ള ഉടമ്പടിയിൽ ഏർപ്പെട്ടു എന്ന സിദ്ധാന്തമാണ്. തോമസ് ഹോബ്സ്, ജോൺ ലോക്ക്, ജീൻ ജാക്വിസ് റൂസോ തുടങ്ങിയ ചിന്തകരാണ് ഈ സിദ്ധാന്തം മുന്നോട്ട് വെച്ചത്. ഓർഗാനിക് തിയറി, സമൂഹത്തെ ഒരു ജീവനുള്ള ശരീരത്തോടും ബയോളജിക്കൽ ഓർഗാനിസത്തോട് ഉപമിക്കുന്ന സിദ്ധാന്തമാണിത്. ഒരു ശരീരത്തിലെ വിവിധ അവയവങ്ങൾ, കയ്യ്, കാലുകൾ, ഹൃദയം പരസ്പരം സഹകരിച്ച് ശരീരത്തിൻ്റെ നിലനിൽപ്പിനായി പ്രവർത്തിക്കുന്നത് പോലെ സമൂഹത്തിലെ വിവിധ സ്ഥാപനങ്ങളും കുടുംബം, ഗവൺമെൻറ്, വിദ്യാഭ്യാസം പരസ്പരം ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട് സമൂഹത്തിൻ്റെ സുസ്ഥിരതയ്ക്കായി പ്രവർത്തിക്കുന്നു. ഉദാഹരണം ഹെർബർട്ട് സ്പെൻസർ ആണ് ഈ സിദ്ധാന്തത്തിൻ്റെ പ്രധാന വക്താവ്. പേഴ്സണൽ ഡിസ്ഓർഗനൈസേഷൻ, വ്യക്തിപരമായ അസംഘടിതാവസ്ഥ. ഒരു വ്യക്തിക്ക് സമൂഹത്തിൻ്റെ നിയമങ്ങളോടും പ്രതീക്ഷകളോടും പൊരുത്തപ്പെട്ട് ജീവിക്കാൻ കഴിയാതെ വരുമ്പോൾ ഉണ്ടാകുന്ന അവസ്ഥയാണിത്. കോസസ് ഓഫ് പേഴ്സണൽ ഡിസ്ഓർഗനൈസേഷൻ, ഒരു വ്യക്തിയുടെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ ചിട്ടയില്ലായ്മയും പൊരുത്തക്കേടുകളും ഉണ്ടാകുന്ന ഘടകങ്ങൾ. ഇവ വ്യക്തിപരമോ സാമൂഹികമോ ആകാം. വ്യക്തിപരം, കടുത്ത മാനസിക സമ്മർദ്ദം, മാനസികാരോഗ്യ പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ, മയക്കുമരുന്ന്, മദ്യ അടിമത്തം. സാമൂഹികം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് അതിവേഗത്തിലുള്ള സാമൂഹിക മാറ്റങ്ങൾ, കുടുംബത്തിലെ തകർച്ച, സാമ്പത്തിക ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുകൾ എന്നിവ ഉൾപ്പെടുന്നു. ഇഫക്റ്റ് ഓഫ് പേഴ്സണൽ ഡിസ്ഓർഗനൈസേഷൻ. ഇഫക്റ്റ്, ഈ അവസ്ഥ വ്യക്തിയിലും സമൂഹത്തിലും ഉണ്ടാക്കാവുന്ന ദോഷഫലങ്ങൾ: കുറ്റകൃത്യങ്ങളിൽ ഏർപ്പെടുക, ആത്മഹത്യാ പ്രവണത, സാമൂഹിക ബന്ധങ്ങളിൽ നിന്ന് ഒഴിഞ്ഞുമാറൽ, അലിഞ്ഞുതിരിയൽ തുടങ്ങിയ അവസ്ഥ. സോഷ്യൽ ഗ്രൂപ്പ്സ്. ക്യാരക്ടറിസ്റ്റിക്സ് ഓഫ് സോഷ്യൽ ഗ്രൂപ്പ്. ഒരു കൂട്ടത്തെ സാമൂഹിക കൂട്ടമായി കണക്കാക്കാൻ ആവശ്യമായ ലക്ഷണങ്ങൾ: പരസ്പര ബോധം, മ്യൂച്വൽ അവയർനെസ്. അംഗങ്ങൾ പരസ്പരം തങ്ങളൊരു കൂട്ടമാണെന്ന് അറിയുന്നു. നാം എന്ന വികാരം, വി ഫീലിംഗ്, കൂട്ടായ്മയുടെയും ഐക്യത്തിൻ്റെയും ഒരു ബോധം. കോമൺ ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റ്, പൊതുവായ ലക്ഷ്യങ്ങളോ ആവശ്യങ്ങളോ ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കുക. ഗ്രൂപ്പ് നോംസ്, കൂട്ടത്തിന് അംഗീകരിക്കപ്പെട്ട ചില പെരുമാറ്റ രീതികൾ ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കും. ക്ലാസിഫിക്കേഷൻ ഓഫ് സോഷ്യൽ ഗ്രൂപ്പ്സ്. സാമൂഹിക കൂട്ടങ്ങളെ തരംതിരിക്കുന്ന രീതികൾ. പ്രൈമറി ഗ്രൂപ്പ്സ്, ചെറുതും അടുത്ത വ്യക്തിബന്ധങ്ങൾ ഉള്ളതുമായ കൂട്ടങ്ങൾ. എക്സാമ്പിൾ കുടുംബം, അടുത്ത സുഹൃത്തുക്കൾ. സെക്കൻഡറി ഗ്രൂപ്പ്സ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് വലുതും ഔദ്യോഗികവുമായ ബന്ധങ്ങൾ. ഉദാഹരണം ഓഫീസ് സ്റ്റാഫ്, രാഷ്ട്രീയ പാർട്ടികൾ. ഇൻ ഗ്രൂപ്പുകളും ഔട്ട് ഗ്രൂപ്പുകളും. ഒരാൾക്ക് സ്വന്തമെന്ന് തോന്നുന്ന കൂട്ടം, അന്യമെന്ന് തോന്നുന്ന കൂട്ടം. Part 2, Individual and Society. Social contract theory, a philosophical concept concerning the legitimacy of the authority of the state over the individual. It usually posits that individuals have consented either explicitly or tacitly to surrender some of the freedom and submit to the authority of the ruler or decision maker in exchange for protection of their remaining rights. Key theorists include Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau. The organismic theory. A sociological theory that compares society to a living biological organism. It suggests that, like an organism, society is composed of interdependent parts, social institutions, groups that work together to maintain the whole, and each part has a specific function necessary for the survival of the entire system. Personal disorganization. Causes of personal disorganization. This will likely cover factors like rapid social change, family breakdown, cultural conflict, poverty, mental illness, and substance abuse that lead to an individual's maladjustment or inability to function effectively in society. Effects of personal disorganization. This will detail the consequences such as crime, evidence, suicide, homelessness, and various forms of personal pathology or distress. Social groups. Characteristics of social groups. This will describe the key features that define a social group, such as having a defined structure, shared norms and values, a sense of belonging, or identify and persist interaction. Classification of social groups. This will cover the different types of groups, such as a primary versus secondary group, in-group versus out groups, voluntary versus involuntary groups, and formal versus informal groups. So, the classification of social groups will cover primary versus secondary groups, in-groups versus out-groups, voluntary versus involuntary groups, and formal versus informal groups. Individual and society. The close relation. The bond between the individual and society is extremely close. They are interdependent. So the relation between individual and society is very close. Society. So societal role. Society exists to regulate individuals through customs, traditions, and institutions. Society does not exist independently without individuals. Individual dependence. Society does not exist independently without individuals, and individuals cannot exist without the society that surrounds them. So individuals live and act within society, and society is the combination of individuals within their cooperative effort. Interdependence. On the other hand, society exists to serve individuals. It is the society that an individual is surrounded and encompassed by culture as a social force. So society does not exist independently without individuals. Interdependence. The quality and nature of the relationship between the individual and society depends on the fact that individual and society affect each other at every step. They grow with the help of each other. Theories. Two main theories that address this relation: the social contract theory and organismic theory. The two theory. Number one, social contract theory. Number two, the organismic theory. Social contract theory. Proponents. The theory is often associated with sociologists like Locke. The most famous proponents are philosophers like Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Core idea: according to the theory, in order to gain security and maintain human rights, individuals originally living in a lawless state of nature made a mutual contract or agreement. The social contract to form a society or state. Purpose of contract: the agreement was established to protect and preserve the rights of the individual. Sovereignty: the social contract assigned sovereignty to the governmental control or to the general will of people depending on the theorist. The social contract contributed to the governmental control. So, sovereignty. Origin of the government. The government or state was created by the society when it established the contract. So, the purpose of the contract to protect and preserve the right of the individual. Sovereignty. Later, the social contract assigned sovereignty, supreme power to the government control. Origin of the government. The government of the state was created by the society when it established in contract. Criticism. A lack of evidence. Critics argue there is no historical evidence that society was ever deliberately created as a result of a voluntary agreement or contract. Fictional basis. The state of nature, the original condition of humans before society, is considered a mere fiction that has never truly existed. Impulsibility. It is unlikely that an immense group of unruly, primitive people could come together and agree to form a state in an orderly manner. So, contract theory, criticism, lack of evidence, fictional basis, and impulsibility. The most primitive people liked in some form of society, however, it was rudimentary or unorganized. The orgasmic theory. Core idea. It considers society like a biological organism or a living body. Analogy. The union or relationship between the different parts of a society are similar to how different parts of an animal organism limbs are united and make up the whole. Individuality. It suggests that individuals is only an abstract idea apart from society. They gain form and function within it. Individual's role. The theorists like Herbert Spencer believe the individual belonged to the body of the society just as a cell belonged to the body of the individual organism. And the criticism, lack of specific form. Critics argue that society has no specific physical form like the body of an individual organism. Example, a society doesn't have a definite head or limbs. Fixed position. Fixed position. Unlike the organs of an individual organism, the heart is always in the same space. The units, individuals and institutions of a society are not fixed in their respective position. They can change roles and location. Purpose. Society is ultimately an organization of minds for a common purpose, not a structure bound by strictly biological laws. Personal disorganization. Behavior of an individual that deviates from the social norms. Result. It leads to social disapproval, which can be mild or severe. Response. The individual's reaction to this disapproval, positive or negative, demonstrates their state of adjustment. Causes of personal disorganization. Situational disorganization caused by sudden precipitating event, a life crisis. Habitual disorganization caused by a collection of self-created bad habits. Historical disorganization caused by a past trauma or even that impact the current state of life or order. Causes. Example of sudden crisis that disrupt life. Being unhappy job, losing money or husband or spouse, working long hours, family conflict, facing discrimination or harassment at work, sudden or serious illness, divorce, moving to a new place, habitual disorganization, causes. Example, self destructive habits, smoking, drinking, too much alcohol, drug addiction, skipping meals, developing unhealthy sleeping habits, overusing social media. Historical disorganization, traumatic event, natural disaster, violence, faulty parenting, example childhood abuse, social world, caste system, dodgy system, systematic discrimination or inequality, etc. Effects of personal disorganization, poor rest and relaxation leading to fatigue and difficulty in sleeping, difficulty in concentrating, upset stomach, irritability, and depression, high blood pressure, high blood pressure and abnormal heartbeat, poor appetite and overeating, heartburn, ulcer, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic health issues like migraines or asthma, weight gain or loss, family problems and flare up of asthma or arthritis. Social groups. They are a basic part of social groups are basic part of human life. It consists of two or more people who regularly interact, share common characteristics and feel a sense of unity. A group is defined as people who see each other frequently and consider themselves a social group. Horton defines social group as an aggregate of people playing interrelated roles and recognized by themselves or others as a unit of interaction. Characteristics of social group. Mutual attachment. It's not a single person. Mutual attachment. Members are drawn to each other. Continuous number of individuals constitutes number of individuals. It's not a single person. Similarity of behavior. Members often act in similar ways and share values. It's a sense of unity, a feeling of belongingness. We feeling, the sense of us or collective identity. Group norms, shared rules or standards of behavior. Sharing common interest. Permanent or temporary. Groups can last a long time or exist for a specific purpose. Dynamic in nature. Groups change and evolve. Group control. Groups exert influence or pressure on their members. Classification of social groups. In groups and out groups. The classification listed as in groups and out groups, voluntary and involuntary groups, institutional and non institutional groups, horizontal, vertical groups, territorial, non territorial groups, genetic and congregate group, informal and formal group, small and large group, primary and secondary group. Social groups, in group and out group. In group members have close relationship and feel strong loyalty to the group. The out group consists of all individuals who are not part of the in group. Voluntary and involuntary group. Voluntary group are those people joined by choice, such as political parties, youth association, cultural association, etc. Involuntary groups are those an individual is born into or become a part of without choice, such as a family, caste, creed, or race. Institutional, non-institutional. Institution include church, caste, school, while non-institutional include crowds, public audience, etc. Horizontal, vertical groups. Horizontal group include social classes, example, peasants, laborers, or college students, or non-territorial groups, example, media, public audience. Vertical group include territorial group like village or tribes, and economic classes, smaller group in comparison to the horizontal ones. Social groups, territorial and non-territorial group. Territorial group includes entities like states. Non-territorial groups include concepts like class, caste, creed. Genetic and congregate group. Genetic group include the fundamental social unit like the family or ethnic group. Congregate group are groups people assemble into such as trade union or political parties. Small and large group. The classification here is based on size and is often used alongside other classifications like horizontal and vertical groups. Formal informal group. Informal group members is defined as entry is subject to written rules. In informal rules, membership is defined by formal rules. In formal groups, membership is defined and entry is subject to written rules. Social groups. Social groups, primary and secondary group. Primary group is characterized by face-to-face interaction. They are typically small, intimate and long-lasting. Family, close friends, example. Secondary group relationships are generally formal and impersonal. These groups are less intimate and the level of interaction is restricted at a formal level. Example, business association are given as an example of secondary group. Comparison. Primary group small, secondary group large. Primary group long lasting, short term. Interest of members diffused, specific. Relationship, group focus, person, focus on task. Relationship, personal, direct. Impersonal, goal oriented. Structure, informal, formal. Communication, direct, indirect. Members role, stable, Members' role stable, interchangeable. Cooperation direct, indirect. Significance in society greater significance. Secondary group little significance. Part 3, social process. The overarching concept, forms of social process. The different categories like disassociative, cooperation, cooperation, and characteristics of cooperation, types of cooperation, importance of cooperation. For competition, characteristics of competition, types of competition, forms of competition, importance of competition, conflict, characteristics of a conflict, causes of conflict, types of conflict, effects of conflict, difference between conflict and competition. Accommodation. Accommodation. Characteristics of accommodation, methods of accommodation. Assimilation, levels of assimilation, types of assimilation, characteristics of assimilation, factors conducive for assimilation. Factors hindering assimilation, importance of assimilation, difference between accommodation and assimilation. Social isolation, causes of social isolation, effects of isolation, emotional isolation. Social process. It refers to forms of social interaction that occurs repeatedly. There are several forms of social interaction or process such as cooperation, accommodation, conflict, competition. Definition of social process. Social process is a consensus in which relations of the members of a group once brought together acquire a distinctive character. It also refers to the repetitive forms of behavior which is commonly found in social life. So it refers to the form of social interaction. It refers to the form of social interaction. There are several forms of social interaction: cooperation, accommodation, conflict, competition. It's a process. Social process is a consensus in which relationship of the members of a group once brought together acquire distinctive character. It also refers repetitive form of behavior. Forms of social process. Forms of social process. Social process can be positive or negative. Social process can be positive or negative. They are generally divided into two broad categories: associative and disassociative. Associative process. Associative process. Any associative or conjunctive social process is a positive social process. They work for solidarity or benefit of the society. This category includes cooperation, accommodation, assimilation, and acculturation. This process brings people together. Disassociative process. Social process resulting in negative effect. Negative. Social process leading a negative result are called disassociative process. This process results in the disintegration of society. This category includes disassociative social process, force, indirect relation, and competition. These processes tend to push people apart. Cooperation. Cooperation is one of the fundamental processes in social life. It is a form of social process in which two or more individuals or groups work together jointly to achieve common goals. And it is a form of interaction, social interaction, in which all the participants know that their There are aiming for shared goals. They are attaining shared goals. Definition: it is a continuous and common endeavor of two or more persons to perform a task or reach a goal that is commonly cherished. So, it is a continuous and common endeavor of two or more persons to perform a task or reach a goal that is commonly cherished. Characteristics of cooperation. Associative process. Cooperation is a positive force that brings individuals and groups together, promoting social solidarity and integration. Conscious process. The people involved are fully aware of their common goal and the act of working together to achieve it. Personal process. It involves direct and personal interaction or effort together the shared objective. It's a continuous process. Cooperation is not a one-time event but a sustained effort or a regular repeated form of interaction necessary for social life. Universal process. It is found in all human societies regardless of their size, complexity or culture, as it's essential for group survival. Based on essential elements. This is a general characteristic implying it relies on factors like mutual aid, shared values and trust. Types of cooperation. Types of cooperation. Direct cooperation. Direct cooperation. This type is voluntary and involves individuals performing similar tasks together in a shared physical or social space. Cooperation between husband and wife. Direct cooperation includes praying together, worshipping together, farming together, or pushing a motor car out of the mud. Indirect cooperation. This includes activities where people perform dissimilar tasks but work together towards a common end. It is based on the principle of division of labor and specialization. Example: carpenters, masons, plumbers, electricians, etc., who perform different functions but all aim to build a single house. Importance of cooperation. Cooperation is the most elementary form of social process without which society cannot develop or even exist. It is the foundation of social life. The continuation of human race requires cooperation of male and female for reproduction and the upbringing of children. Cooperation also satisfies the physical, mental and spiritual needs of the person. Cooperation facilitates and is essential to all the progress that mankind has made in various fields, science, technology, culture, etc. It can also provide solution to many international problems and disputes by promoting mutual understanding and joint action. Competition. It is one of the dissociative forms of social interaction, meaning it tends to push group apart or creates rivalry. It is the most fundamental form of social struggle. It occurs whenever there is insufficient supply of anything people desire, so that the goal or reward cannot be achieved by all. It occurs when the demand outturns supply, that is, when demand is greater than the supply. So it is an impersonal, unconscious, continuous struggle between individual and groups for desired reward that are limited and all may not receive. Characteristics of competition. Characteristics of competition. Universality. Competition is found in all societies and at all times. Dual in nature. Dual in nature. It can be both beneficial, driving innovation, and harmful, causing stress or inequality. Influenced by culture. The forms and intensity of competition vary based on a society's cultural values and norms. Unconscious activity. The participation and are often more focused on the goal reward than on actively thwarting a specific opponent. They may not even know all their rivals. It's a continuous process. Competition is ongoing as the demand for limited resources or status is perceptual, based upon certain norms. Unlike conflict, competition usually operate within a set of accepted rules, example laws, sportsmanship, based upon goals and rewards. The entire process is centered on the pursuit of scarce, desirable outcome. Cause of social change. It can drive innovation, merit, and the redistribution of power, leading to societal transformation. Constructive as well as destructive. It can be constructive or destructive, leading to unhealthy stress or turning into conflict. Types of competition. Personal competition. It means rivalry between the people. It occurs among two opponents of their personal level. Impersonal competition. It takes place among the groups and not among the individuals. Competitors compete with one another as a member of a group, such as business, social, or cultural group. Forms of competition. Economic competition. Competition between individual or group to achieve certain material goods. Cultural competition. It occurs when two or more culture try to establish their superiority over others. This type of competition leads to cultural disintegration in the society. Social competition, mainly found in modern society for acquiring high status, popularity, name, and fame in society. People compete with each other. Race. Racial competition found among different races in the world. It takes place when one race tries to establish its superiority over the other. Political competition. In democratic country, this in competition is inevitable among various political parties and even between different members of a political party to obtain political power. The importance of competition. Positive function. Provides better opportunities, decentralized function in the society, source of motivation. It is a source of motivation, essential elements for progress. Negative function, emotional disturbance and frustrations may cause insecurity and instability. Source of conflict, it is a source of conflict, may lead to monopoly. And then what is conflict? It is one of the dissociative or integrative social process, universal and fundamental social process in human relations. It is a process of seeking to obtain rewards by eliminating or weakening the competitors. It's a process of seeking to obtain reward by eliminating or weakening the competitors. Conflict in comparison to its occasional, personal, and hostile form. It is also goal oriented. Conflict, conflict in comparison to its occasional, personal, and hostile forms. It seeks to capture its goal by making ineffective and unfair means. So, a social process in which an individual or group seek their end by directly challenging the antagonist by violence. Antagonist by violence. Characteristics of conflict. It's a universal process. Conflict is a phenomena found everywhere. It's a normal part of life. It is an expected and regular occurrence, personal in nature. It involves individuals and their relationship, deliberate, conscious activity. It usually undertaken with awareness and intent. Lacks continuity. Conflict is often sporadic, not a continuous state. Conflict is a process. It follows states and evolves over time. Require interventions to solve. It often needs external or internal effort to reach a conclusion. Conflict is inevitable. It cannot be completely avoided. Based, based upon perception rather than reality. How people see the situation often drives the conflict, not necessarily the objective facts. Conflict is dimensional. It has multiple five layers. It has multiple layers. Causes of conflict. Shortage of material, competition over scarce resources, land, wealth, good, struggle for existence, a fundamental drive for survival and dominance, innate qualities of human beings, basic human instinct or psychological tendencies, difference in attitude and aspiration, disagreement arising from varied viewpoints and goals, social change, disruptions or transformation in social structures and norms, moral values and expectations, clashes over differing ethical belief and standards for behavior. Types of conflict. According to McLever, direct conflict. This occurs when a person or group injures or destroy the opponent in order to secure a goal or reward. Example of this direct combat include litigation, revolution, and war. Direct conflict. Indirect conflict. This involves attempts made by individuals or group to frustrate the effort of their opponent in an indirect manner, meaning the opposition is undermined without a direct physical or visible confrontation. Types of conflict. According to George Simmons, there are four types of conflict. War. Number one, war. War. When all efforts to resolve the conflict between two states fail and it breaks out as the only alternative to peaceful means of solution. Indirect conflict. This refers to a prolonged and bitter quarrel or dispute that usually occurs among the members of the family. This is also known as family group conflict. Next, litigation. This is a form of conflict which is judicial in nature to redress their grievances and to get justice. People take recourse to legal means in the court of law. Conflict of impersonal ideas. This is a conflict carried on by individuals not for themselves, but for an ideal or a principle. Types of conflict. Personal conflict. Personal conflict. It is conflict between two persons within the same group. Racial conflict. It is conflict between two races. Class conflict. It is conflict between two classes such as poor, rich. Political conflict. Conflict between two parties, political parties. International conflict. Conflict between two nations. Role role or effect of conflict. Positive functions. Promote solidarity and patriotism. Promote solidarity and patriotism. Unimagined landscape, like a type for reimagined. Emergence of a large group. Redefining the values. Redefining the values. Stabilizes the social structure relations. Stabilize the social structural relationship. May change status. Change status. Build boundaries. Build boundaries. Reconciliation. Internal integration. Inspires creativity. Clarifies goals and opinion. Improve future communication. So these are the positive functions. And the negative functions causes social disorder. It causes social disorder, weakens the solidarity, violence, threatens the morale, decreases the productivity, disputes social integration, psychological problems. So these are the negative functions of conflict. Effect of conflict has positive function and negative function. Differences. Conflict may be productive and destructive. In competition, it is productive most of the time. In conflict, destroy or injure opponents and eliminate them. In competition, achieve a goal or desire before others. Nature may involve violence, may be both personal and impersonal. It is non-violence in nature. Lack of continuity. Competition, a continuous process. In conflict, employs anti-social means. In competition, employs mostly social means. A conflict can occur among various groups and individuals. In competition, may be between one or more individuals or groups for a single prize. In conflict, involves direct and open antagonism. In competition, can take place without clashes. In conflict, reduces chance and disagreements. In competition, increases or reduces chances and disagreement. So, in conflict, may be productive or destructive, may involve violence, it is personal, lack continuity, disregards social norms, diverts members' attention from group objectives, leads to frustration and social disorder, involves discard and disagreement, uses unfair means. In competition, it is productive most of the time, It is non-violent in nature, may be both personal as well as impersonal, a continuous process. Consider norms, keeps members alert to goal and objective, encourage intelligence, innovations and entrepreneurship can take place without clashes, emphasis on hard work and other positive values. Accommodation. It is the achievement of adjustment between people that permits antagonists, opposing parties, to act together in a given situation. And it is a process through which individuals or group adjust, harmonize, or reconcile a situation to overcome difficulties faced by them. The term accommodation refers to the method of the adjustment by which a person attains a sense of harmony with his environment. Essentially, accommodation is a process of social adjustment where opposing parties come to a working agreement or compromise, allowing them to coexist or cooperate despite their underlying differences or conflict. The characteristics. End result of conflict. A conflict usually leads to some form of resolution or consequence for the parties involved. Universal activity. Conflict is a natural and widespread social phenomena that occurs in all societies and groups. It's a continuous process. Conflict isn't a single event but an ongoing dynamic in social life, often leading to new conflict or adjustment. Conscious and unconscious process. People may be ever conscious of a conflict, but underlying tension or incompatible goals can also drive conflict unconsciously. Mixer of both love and hatred. Conflicts are complex and can involve a mix of strong emotions even among people who have shared history or relationship. Brings changes. Conflict is a driver of social change as it often focuses groups or individuals to adjust, innovate, or re-evaluate norms. Methods of accommodation. Admitting one's defeat. This applies between conflicting parties of unequal strength. The weaker party surrenders or concedes to the stronger one, ending the immediate conflict. Compromise. Applicable when the combatants are of equal strength. Each party to the dispute makes some concession, gives up something, and yields to some demands of the other party through the mediator. Achieved by means of arbitration and conciliation, where an impartial third party steps in to resolve the quarrel between the contending parties. The methods of accommodation. Toleration. Applied when there is no settlement of dispute, but there is only the avoidance of open conflict or avoidance of open conflict. The parties simply agree to disagree and live with it. Avoidance of over conflict or open conflict. Conversion. This is the method where one side convinces his opponents to his view of a point by providing that he is right and they are wrong. Rationalization. This is an intellectual or psychological escape from the conflict on the basis of some imaginary explanation to justify his action. This often refers to self justification to cope with a loss or failure. Subordination. This is a method based on unequal positions. To be in a low rank is subordination. The reference to reusing the reference to refusing to allow women to be educated is an act of society's subordination of women to men, which is a historical example of a dominant group subordinating another. Assimilation. It means that the cultural difference between diverse groupings of people disappear. Two groups start thinking and acting similar as they absorb the common traditions, attitudes, and consequently take on a new emotional unity. Definition. It is a social process whereby individuals or groups come to share the same sentiments and goals. The key idea is that assimilation is a process where a minority group or individual gradually adopt the culture, values, and behaviors of a larger dominant group, eventually becoming indistinguishable from it. Levels of assimilation. Individual level, group level, cultural level. Individual level. When an individual enters a new group with different cultural patterns. In group level, when two with dissimilar patterns of behavior come in close contact, they invariably affect each other in the process of assimilation. Cultural level, when two cultures merge to produce third culture and has featured of both merging cultures. This process where a third blended culture emerges is often referred to as amalgamation or cultural fusion in sociology. Types types of assimilation. Cultural assimilation, acculturation. It involves learning day-to-day norms of the dominant culture, dress, language, food, recreation, games, and sports. This process involves internalization, the more critical aspects of culture, such as values, ideals, belief, attitudes. Simply put, it's adopting the cultural practices. Structural assimilation. It involves developing patterns of intimate contact between the guest and host groups in clubs, organizations, and institutions of the host society. Characteristics. Associative process. It is a form of social interaction that brings people together as opposed to dissociative process like conflict. Universal process. It occurs in all societies where different cultural groups come into contact. Slow and gradual process. It does not happen overnight but takes a considerable amount of time, often generations. Unconscious process. While some efforts to adapt are conscious, much of the absorption of new values and behaviors happen without deliberate effort. Two-way process. Although the minority group often adopt more from the majority group, the majority culture is also subtly influenced and changed by the presence of the minority group. Toleration. It helps people to come together to develop contact and to participate in common activities, which is vital for assimilation. Close contact, close social contact. When people of different culture come into close proximity with one another and have common ideas, assimilation is promoted. Amalgamation, intermarriage. It occurs when two different groups establish matrimonial relationship, marriage, resulting in a mixing of the population and culture. Equal economic opportunities. People or group having equal economic positions and free access to employment will develop a similar standard of living, accelerating assimilation. Common physical traits. Common physical traits or qualities of people of different cultures may promote feeling of oneness, which aids assimilation. Cultural similarity. Similarly, between two groups of individuals promotes assimilation as fewer differences need to be overcome. Factors hindering assimilation. Physical differences are differences in features, complexion of skin, and other physical traits may hinder assimilation because they make A group easily distinguishable. Cultural differences. Differences in language and religion, if different, may have great difficulty in assimilation. Prejudice. It is attitude on which segregation depends for its success. It impedes assimilation between constituent elements within a good society. Sense of superiority and inferiority. Assimilation is hindered by the feeling of superiority and inferiority held by one group towards another, which prevents genuine interaction. Domination and subordination. It leads to different and lack of intimate relationship between the dominant group and the subordinate group. Isolation. People living in isolation fail to establish social contact with others, which is necessary for assimilation to occur. And the importance of assimilation. Process of multi-interchange or diffusion of culture, through which persons and groups come to share a common culture. It reduces group conflict by blending differing groups into a larger, culturally homogeneous group. It eliminates boundary lines as two groups, formally distinct, assume a common identity. In essence, assimilation is important because it contributes to social cohesion, stability, and unity by creating a shared culture and eliminating the deep division that can lead to conflict. The differences: accommodation and assimilation. Accommodation, natural result of conflict. Assimilation takes place only after accommodation. Accommodation takes place suddenly by bringing radical changes. Assimilation is a slow and gradual process. Accommodation, conscious efforts. Assimilation, an unconscious process. Accommodation may not be permanent process. Assimilation is a permanent process. Accommodation takes place between conflicting parties. Assimilation based upon friendly and cordial relationship. In accommodation, based upon both love and hatred. In assimilation, both a cultural and psychological process. The key distinction is the accommodation is a temporary, conscious adjustment to coexist despite differences, while assimilation is a slow, often unconscious, and permanent process where one group absorbs the culture of another, leading to a complete merging of identity. Social isolation. It is defined as having little or no contact with other person. It is different from loneliness. Loneliness is a state of emotion that is felt by the individual who is not satisfied with their social connection. Isolation is voluntary and lasts for extended period of time. In the absence of social interaction, contacts or relationship with family and friends, with neighbors on an individual level, and with society at large on a broader level. So, social isolation is an objective state of having few or no social contact, while loneliness is the subjective, distressing feeling of being alone or disconnected. Causes of social isolation. Eccentric people. People who have personality traits or habits that make it difficult for them to maintain contact with others. Physical disability or illness. Conditions that restrict a person's mobility or ability to engage in social activities. Advanced age. Older individuals may experience loss of partners, friends, and family, or reduced mobility. Development delays. Cognitive disorders or neurological conditions. This can affect a person's ability to communicate or interact society. Retirement. Laws of the daily social structure and contact provided by the workplace. Transportation and housing. Lack of accessible transportation or living in isolated how in iso- or living in isolated housing can restrict social contact. Immigrants, individuals who have moved to a new country may lack existing social network and face language or cultural barriers. Effects of social isolation on physical health, mental health. Physical health, higher level of stress hormones, heart disease including high BP and coronary artery disease. Physical disabilities, risk of developing chronic disease, increased risk of premature death. On mental health, depression, anxiety, low self esteem, insomnia, post traumatic stress. In short, social isolation poses serious risk to overall well being, significantly increasing the likelihood of chronic disease, early death, and various mental health disorders. Socialization. Socialization is the lifelong process of inheriting and disseminating norms, customs, and ideologies, providing an individual with the skill and habit necessary for participating within their own society. It is how a biological being becomes a social being. Characteristics of socialization. It's a continuous process. It starts at birth and continues throughout one's entire life, arm to tomb. Next characteristics, it's a learned behavior. It is a learned behavior. It is a process of learning to act, think, and feel according to the standards of the society or group. Cultural transmission. Cultural transmission. It passes culture, values, and traditions from one generation to the next. Development of self and personality. It is crucial for the development of an individual's self concept and overall personality. Universal. It occurs in all societies through the content and methods vary. So, the characteristics of socialization is a continuous process, learned behavior, cultural transmission, development of self and personality, universal. Agencies of socialization. Agencies of socialization. Family, primary agent, the most critical agent, teaching basic behaviors, values, and language. School or education teaches formal knowledge but also hidden curriculum, punctuality, obedience, competitiveness. Peer group, groups of individuals, usually of the same age, who share similar interest and status. They influence social identity and norms independently of adult authority. Mass media, TV, internet, social media, and film convey images, values, and information that shape worldwide. Religious, state, workplace, other institutions that impose rules, roles, and values upon the individuals. So, the agencies of socialization: family, school, peer group, mass media, religion, workplace. Process of socialization. Process The process involves mechanism through which learning occurs. Imitation, learning by observing and copying the behavior of others, especially role models. Suggestions, accepting ideas, belief, or courses of action proposed by others, often authority figures. Identification, the unconscious process of adopting the characteristics of someone they admire or want to be like. Reward and punishment, using positive praise, gift, or negative scolding, discipline, reinforcement to guide behavior into socially acceptable pattern. Process of socialization, imitation, suggestion, identification, reward, and punishment. Types of socialization. Primary socialization occurs during childhood, primarily within the family, where basic skills and norms are learned. Secondary socialization occurs outside the family in school, peer group, and workplace and focuses on specific roles and specialized knowledge. Anticipatory socialization, practicing for a future role. Example, a student intern practicing the role of a nurse or an engaged couple participating their future role as parent. Resocialization, dramatically changing one's personality or behavior by rejecting old patterns and embracing new ones, often in total institutions. Example, military training, prison, or severe life changes. So, the types of socialization: primary socialization, secondary socialization, anticipatory socialization, resocialization. Social change. Social change refers to any significant alteration over time in behavior patterns and cultural values and norms. Characteristics of social change: universal. It happens in every society and at every time, though the rate varies. Continuous and inevitable. It is an ongoing, non stop process, varies in speed and degrees. Some societies or aspects of society change rapidly, example technology, while others change slowly, example religious belief. Social. It involves a change in the social structure, organization, or functions of a society, not just in individual aspect. Can be planned or unplanned. Changes can be the result of deliberate policy, example a new law, or unforeseen event, example a natural disaster, pandemic. So the characteristics of social change is universal, continuous and inevitable, varies in speed and degree, social, can be planned or unplanned. Next, the process or stages of social change. While there is no single universal accepted model, social change is generally viewed as passing through stages related to adoption and acceptance, often related to Kurt Levin's change theory in a practical context. Unfreezing, recognizing the need for change and overcoming resistance to it. Movement or change, implementing the new pattern, technologies, or ideas. Refreezing, stabilizing the change and integrating the new patterns into the social structure, making them the new norm. So, the process or stages of social change is unfreezing, movement or change, refreezing, making them refreezing. This is three points. Patterns of social change. Sociologists observe recurring patterns in how societies change over time. Linear or evolutionary. Change is viewed as progressing steadily in a single direction. Example, from simple to complex or traditional to modern. Cyclical. Change is seen as repeating itself in cycles. Example, a rise and fall of civilization or shift between conservative and liberal eras. Dialectical. Change involves a conflict between opposing forces, thesis versus antithesis, leading to new situation synthesis, which then become the new thesis for the next round of conflict. Example, Marx class conflict. Factors influencing social change. The primary drives of change, technological factors. First is technological factors. Invention and innovation. Example, the internet, industrial machinery profoundly alter human interaction, work, and culture. Next factor, demographic factors. Changes in population size, age, structure, birth rate, death rate, and migration. Cultural factors. Diffusion, the spread of ideas, practices from one culture to another, and internal change. Example, shift in dominant values or ideologies. Economic factors, change in modes of production, distribution of wealth, and globalization. Political factors, governmental policies, law, war, revolution, and shift in power structures. Next, role of nurse in social change. In a healthcare and community context, a nurse acts as a change agent, identifying problems, recognizing systematic issues in patient care, community health, and organizational workflow, advocating for patients or community, promoting better health practices, new policies, or resource allocation, educating, introducing new evidence based practices to colleagues, patient, or the public, facilitating adoption, guiding a team, unit, or community through the process of implementing a new procedure or Standard of care, essentially using the stages of social change, unfreezing, change, refreezing in a clinical setting. Visionary, clearly communicating the benefits and necessity of the proposed change. So, the role of nurse as a change agent, identifying problems, advocating for patients or community, educating, facilitating adoption, visionary. Rural community, community health and social structure. Rural community. This refers to small, sparsely populated communities, often concentrated around agriculture and traditional lifestyles. Characteristics of rural community typically include simple social structure, close relationships, low population density, reliance on agriculture or primary industries, relative cultural homogeneity, and a slower pace of social change. Urban community. Urban community. This refers to a large, densely populated cities and metropolitan areas. Characteristics of urban community typically include complex rural structure, diverse population, high population density, reliance on service or industrial economy, specialized role, formal and impersonal relationship, and a rapid pace of social change. Differences between rural and urban community. This point compares the two occupation, agriculture, rural agriculture, urban industrial or service, population density in rural low, urban high, social interaction, personal or primary, rural, in urban impersonal or secondary, social mobility, rural low, urban high, culture, homogeneous or traditional culture in rural areas, urban heterogeneous or diverse. Tribes. This refers to a distinct group of people often geographically isolated, sharing a common culture, dialect, and sometimes a common ancestor. They are typically characterized by a simple socio political structure. Characteristics of tribes: distinct territory, common name and language or dialect, cultural uniformity, a definite political organization, strong sense of community, and endogamy, marriage with the group. Health and professional application. Major health problems of urban areas. These tend to be disease related to crowding population and modern lifestyle. Example: stress related disease, hypertension, heart disease, communicable disease due to density, tuberculosis, influenza, environmental health issues, respiratory illness from air population accidents, substance abuse, and violence. Major health problems of rural areas. These are often rooted in poverty, poor sanitation, and lack of access to care. Example: infectious disease, waterborne disease, gastrointestinal infection, malnutrition, maternal and child health issue due to lack of antenatal care, and disease of poverty. Major health problems of tribal areas. These often overlap with rural issues but are exacerbated by extreme isolation, specific cultural practice, and deep poverty. Example: genetic disease, common with endogamous group, high rate of infectious disease, malnutrition, especially micronutrient deficiency, high infant mortality rate, and challenges related to integrating modern healthcare with traditional practices. Importance of social structure in nursing profession. This highlight why understanding the community organization is vital for a nurse. A nurse must understand the social structure, example family power dynamics, community leaders, cultural norms to effectively plan, implement, and evaluate health program. For example, knowing who the decision maker is in a family or tribe is crucial for getting compliance with treatment, making the nurse a culturally sensitive change agent.